Good morning, everybody, all the students at DCA and mums and dads or family and friends that have also joined and followed along with us on Facebook. I hope you guys had a good weekend. I know Saturday was a beautiful day, very nice and sunny. I hope you guys were able to get outside. I know for me, I got to go out and play some ball hockey with Micaiah and Xander and their dad Adam. And then later, Veronica and I played with some sidewalk chalk. Now she liked to draw. She thought it was more fun to draw in my car than the sidewalk. So I had to remind her where we need to draw with her chalk. But we had a very fun time together. And I hope you guys were able to enjoy some time as well. So this week I would like to encourage everybody to think of how we start school at Destiny. Once you come in the morning and you get settled, agendas and homework, grade 1, 2s after you do your morning warm-up, and kinders after you have a little bit of time playing and saying good morning to all your friends, what sort of happens next? Does anybody remember? We have morning devotions. And you know, we do that at school because I believe it's important to start our day with God. And I would encourage you guys at home this week, when you're doing your learning, your schoolwork at home, that before you begin, that you also have devotions. Now that can look different for each one of us. That can be where maybe you guys at the table that you're doing your schoolwork, you start by praying and talking to God. Invite Him in to help you as you learn and go through your schoolwork this morning. Or maybe you're going to open God's Word and read some of the verses that we have on the devotional chart that you're going to read for today. Some of you might put on a worship song and sing some praise to God. But I would challenge you guys to start at home, just like we start at school. And parents, I would recommend that throughout this week, that as you're going through your days, there's so many voices around us. And I would encourage you guys as well to take that time to pause when you feel the peace has left, or you feel discouraged, or you feel faint of heart with the schoolwork at home, that you would pause and talk to the Lord and invite Him in. I know last week I put on some worship music softly in the kitchen while we were doing our schoolwork, while the boys were working at the dining room table. And during this season, each day is going to look different. It's not going to be the same as yesterday or tomorrow. And I think it's important that we stop and ask God to order and direct our day, because each day is going to look different. And I'd like to read from you from Philippians chapter 4. And I'm going to start at verse 4. It says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. Again I say rejoice. Let your gentleness be known to all men. The Lord is at hand. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Jesus Christ." So when thoughts of fear and worry and concern and all of what's happening in our world around us start to come in, give those things to God. Turn those things into prayers. And that God promises when we release those things to Him, that His peace that passes all understanding will guard our hearts, and it's going to guard our minds. And I think that's an amazing promise that we can trust in God, to have that peace that passes all understanding. And that's what I'm praying for you in each of our homes this week, that we would have the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. Scientists, medical officials, government, it surpasses all our knowledge that we can have. And it's all the voices around us, that we can have that peace of God. And I pray that for each of your homes this week. Now, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed our Easter devotional. And this week we are starting Cracking the Covenant Code. Okay? Now, there's a big long C word in this, and it's a fancy word that I think you know what it means. You might just not know because it's covered up with the word covenant. Okay? So covenant, it actually means a promise from God, and it's a lifelong promise, and it's a promise that cannot be broken. You and me, sometimes we make promises, and sometimes we break them. But God's covenants, or God's promises, can never be broken. And I think it's amazing that as we start this adventure this week on covenants, that in a time when there's a lot of things going on in our world, our days are nothing like what they used to be, that we can discover God's promises to us, and they are going to last forever. Nothing can change them. Okay? And this week you're going to read Genesis chapter 6 and Genesis chapter 9, and you're going to discover the first covenant that God makes with man. Do you want to take a guess? It's a man near the very beginning of the Bible, and his name starts with an N. Can you guess? Noah. And the first promise that God makes, the first covenant that God makes with Noah, is through the rainbow. And that's where your verse is going to come this week. So I'm going to read your verse. It's chapter 9, verse 16. And it says, "Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of every kind on the earth." So the rainbow is a covenant that God made, that he will never flood the earth again. So when the clouds come in like they did yesterday and it was rainy, we know that the earth isn't going to be flooded from this rain. It will end and the sun will come out. And so enjoy learning about God's promise to us. And moms and dads, cling to God's word and his promises this week to give you peace in your mind and in your heart. And I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and we will see you next time.